This is an ABP Live Podcast.
Women's cricket has always been in the shadows in our country. Despite performing brilliantly for our nation, sometimes we tend to forget कि हमारी छोरियां भी छोरों से कम नहीं है. So on today's episode of Behind the Wickets, we have Ms Anjum Chopra with us, who has been an icon for women's cricket and has been a key figure in pushing women's cricket to greater lengths in our country. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today, ma'am. You are obviously an icon in the women's cricket. And I just want to know, how did your journey began? Like, I was reading a little bit about you and I read that you picked up your first bat at 9 years of age. Like, that's very young. So how did you got into cricket?
I might have picked up the bat slightly earlier, but at the age of 9, I played my first friendly match. How I got into it was obviously because of the family. Used to play cricket at home in the backyard. My brother played, my uncle played, so it's always been there. And so it was easy to pick the game which everyone played, that was in the backyard. And yeah, started over there. Then my mother one day read that there'll be trials for the women's under 15 Delhi team in Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium. So she took me and my brother there for on one of the Saturday afternoons, a holiday from school and holiday from office. So she took us there. I gave the trials. I got selected because I had enough basic idea of playing cricket in the backyard. So how to hold a bat, how to catch a ball.
Right.
And yeah, so the journey started from there and continued.
So that's actually very brilliant because, like, at the age that you started to play, there were not a lot of female role models in the cricket industry.
Hmm.
So, who was your role model growing up? Who was like the inspiration? Who you inspired to be like?
Uh, I actually didn't aspire to be like anyone because I only knew that when I played by that time, India men's team had won the 1983 World Cup. So I knew names of Mr. Kapil Dev, Mr. Sunil Gavaskar, Mr. Mohinder Amarnath. I had heard all these names, a few West Indian greats, their names, how Mr. Larry Combs used to bowl, Viv Richards, Sir Viv Richards. All these names were familiar because 86 had already happened by the time I took to the sport. So I didn't really want to. I didn't really have idols, but I did have heroes. Oh, that this player had played India, and this player has won the World Cup, and Mr. Kapil Dev lifted the trophy. So I just knew of these faces, these names, because I was what 2 or 3 by the time I got. I was obviously older than 3, but by the time I realized. So, but as the journey continued, it was not about having a cricketer in mind that I wanted to emulate. It was just about a woman achiever, a girl, making a name for herself and for her family in whatever I was doing. And slowly and steadily, the dream realizing into, getting into the Delhi team, then getting into the Delhi senior team.
Yeah.
I was still in school. I was asked to come and watch the interzonal tournament which was being played in Delhi in Nehru Stadium. So there, my mom, showed me that who's Sandhya Agarwal, who's Dinah Idalji, and we saw these names because these names were of players who were playing for India at that point of time.
Right.
So it was always the next step or a couple of steps ahead of the journey that I was always shown the road or the pathway by my family, by my parents, and I just followed. So yeah, that's how the journey began, and that's how it stays.
Yeah, definitely. Because you might not have a female role model, but I'm pretty sure a lot of women right now in India do aspire to be like you. You have really inspired a lot of people. I'm sure about that much. So, like your journey, like you said, it was a step-by-step kind of a journey. Were there any difficulties, some things in particular that you had to deal with or overcome to get to where you ended up being?
See, they are a part and parcel of the journey. You can't have a smooth ride. You can't have a bumpy ride. There will be patches. The degree of these patches would be different for every individual, but there'll be there'll be happy moments. There'll be difficult moments. So that's a part and parcel of it. So uh, It's not that I had it very easy or I had it very difficult. I'll just say that because my parents have always been there to show the roadmap or the pathway and guide me and be my biggest strength around. So even if there were difficult moments, I had the strength and even if I didn't have the strength, even if I was a weak person at that point of time,
You
it
always
it
have
it
the
it,
support.
it passed. Yeah, the moment passed. It's like you have battles each day when you wake up. You have challenges each day when you wake up. But when you either the moment passes away or you're able to cross it, whichever way, and when you reflect back on it on the next day or the next month or the next hour, you just feel that everything is done and dusted. So move on. So it's been like that. So it's not without its share of ups and downs.
Definitely, I'm sure you had to make a lot of sacrifices, and the journey does require that. But like we have seen, Indian women in particular, have done pretty well according to me in international cricket. They have been winning. They have reached a lot of World Cup finals. We have not won that yet, but I think we are close to that. Uh, like, what are the things that you think need to be done to promote women cricket more? Because recently we also saw that BCCI introduced equal pay for both men and women. I think that is a step forward to encourage more women into the sport. So, what according to you needs to be done for that to happen?
See, the board is already working on promoting women's cricket. Um, it might be a bit late, but at least the board has started, and the benefit of our cricket board, deciding to back a sport, even if it is slightly late in the day, is okay because the kind of strength and the kind of infrastructure, the awareness that our Indian cricket board's backing creates, and it advances the game. It can make up for those lost number of years. But and when I say this might be late, is because I felt that the team could have been backed a little, or the sport could have been backed 16, 17 years back when BCCI actually got women's cricket under its umbrella. But there were other challenges which they were facing, and I'm not saying that those could have been met, but they were they were unable to meet those challenges, and those challenges were there from the women's cricket fraternity side as well. But when you look back and say, fine, at least it's happened. And now with as you said, that the team has reached the finals, yes, at least there's been an awakening and a feeling that, we can back it. So one, there is a feeling that you can back it wholeheartedly, and there's a feeling that it's backed after some compulsion. So with this kind of a support also, the game will be able to cover ground much faster than what it would have covered ground a decade back. So
Mm.
it's nice. It's a step forward. At least we are moving forward. Now the next level is only to the kind of bench strength. Although it's too far for me to say this, but it's at least we have a plan where we want to get to immediate in the next immediate future. Is at least we need to have a nice bench strength in the Indian team, whereby it might take 5 years, might take 10 years, but at least we can start that pathway. Like with the men's team having so many options to call and have such quality players that you can have options to picking an Indian team. If women's cricket can also progress to that level.
Definitely. I think you're completely right in that. We are a little late, but I think it's never too late. Eventually, I think we will make up for the years the right steps are taken, as you said. So, coming to the Australia series, I think the Super Over T20 that we won raked in a lot of views. I think one of the
Mhm.
highest views that the women's cricket has ever seen. So, like, but after that, I think the series kind of went downhill after that. I think that was the high point. So, what do you think went wrong after that T20?
Um, it's difficult to say what went wrong. I I realized that that was one of the best matches of T20 cricket in a
Definitely.
while, what we've seen. And
Yeah.
it's like that India Pakistan match what we saw in the World Cup, but only from Indian side, not from Pakistan side. So from Pakistan side, they will say that they went downhill. From Indian side, it's like what a game it was.
Yeah.
So, but from that second T20 India Australia game, from both perspectives, if you see, it was a game which went down to the wire. It was like a nail biter. because it wasn't a seesaw, it was actually a race. First
Yeah,
Australia was running that race, then India was running that race.
yeah,
So uh, so but what happened in the end was that I think the consistency part that I always feel is very essential was not there. Um, as an Indian team, we play a lot of good innings, and as an Indian team, we play a lot of good matches, and we remember those good matches. We can talk about a good match in 2005, in 2017, in 2020, in 2018. And I'm talking about World Cups.
yeah.
And then you come to 2022 World Cup, you talk about good matches being played by India, and then the very next day there is a downslide. So the
Right.
consistency is one thing which is a miss completely,
Yeah.
and that's probably one of the reasons why we don't see that kind of advancement with the team and the players.
I guess Indian team is really missing Mithali Raj in that sort of thing. I think she gave that stability in the top order, and I think that was the reason. But somebody has to fill her boots now that she was retired. So I think Smriti Mandana is doing pretty good. There are other girls as well who have come into the side. But like you said, the consistency needs to be improved overall. Yeah, that's a, I think, but eventually in a year or two, once the girls get settled and everything, the consistency will come, right?
Yeah, there is no option. You have to bring it. Otherwise, if you start losing out on matches, after from winning positions or getting yourself to a hype where you can beat a look, Australia is too strong a team.
Yeah,
It's not that against Australia you can win consistently, but when I talk about consistency, I don't only talk about results. I talk about how a person has developed or grown from the last series to this series, or from the last match to this match, or maybe from 3 months down the line to today where you are. So I look at consistency from that perspective. It's not that you score 50 every game, but have you been able to surpass those challenges that you've been facing as a player or not, eventually contributing to the team or not. So that's how I probably look at consistency. And if I see the top order or even a few bowlers haven't been able to go the next level, it's not easy, but then that's how international sport is, that you have to adapt pretty quickly and deliver. So that's how the consistency I'm talking about.
definitely. I think eventually it will come, and eventually I hope that we will reach Australia's level as well. Now, talking about the Bangladesh series, I'm sure you have been covering that as well. So, there's a lot of chatter about Rohit Sharma being dropped, Virat Kohli coming to the end of his career innings and everything. I think you have captained India as well in on the international stage, right? So I think you know the pressures of doing that for your country with all the hopes on your shoulders. So what do you think? How much does that affect your ability to perform? Like, does the captain thing does takes a separate toll on you?
See, captaincy is something that a player always wants to have, if you've played a long while. And it's not about having, it's about rising to the next level as a player. And I think everyone's very been fortunate. Whoever has been able to captain the country's team is fortunate to have done that. To say that that brings down the performance, I think we always evaluate it in that manner and say whether it's affected him or not, or her or not. But that's really up to the individual. For some players, captaincy is an additional responsibility, and they tend to probably perform better with it. Some might not be able to take it, but it's not only about captaincy. It's also about the opposition. It's also about your form, your team's form, how your team is stacked, how good your players are versus the opposition. So to judge a captain or a player based on just his or her own performance is incomplete. One needs to judge them in totality. So,
Right.
like, it's about dropping a person, taking a person. This is just the nature of the sport. Today you're picking a Shubman Gill. Tomorrow you'll be dropping a Shubman Gill. Day after you'll be picking an Abhimanyu Iswar and saying no, he's not over there. So that's a part and parcel of the sport. Virat Kohli was once under 19 cricketer. Today he's the senior most player of the team.
Right.
That's just the nature of the game.
Definitely, but like it's a personal opinion here, but I think like they've been veterans, they have created history for India, so I think they need to put down slowly, even if they are being put out of the squad and they're not being selected. I think that needs to be done in a certain way, like not like the way that media completely butchers the players sometimes. So I think that is the wrong way to go ahead with those things, right?
So it's a nice learning for you as a media professional.
Right, definitely. I know that definitely that sometimes the industry that I work in can go overboard with their questions and how they treat a player and how they portray a player. So yeah, definitely, I think that also works psychologically on the player's mind as well. Yeah, you're right. I'm learning with you as well, definitely. So yeah. So at the end of the day, like if a girl wants to join the Indian cricket team right now, since it has been on the high, the women's cricket is, I think, on the rise right now. What would your advice be to them?
So start small, start from the ground, which is across your house or your school, and start playing the game. To join an Indian team is one thing. You're not joining a team to because you like their uniform or something. It's because it's representing your national team, and the world is looking at you because the country has given you that uniform to go and represent itself. And for that uniform and for that India cap to be on your head, to carry it with the utmost responsibility that you want to, you need to start small and start training. The more you play, the better you would become. It's not about only the wins, it's also about the losses, because every day the sport teaches us something. Each day I go to the ground, even today I learn something new, whether it's playing the sport or not playing the sport or covering it. So it's a beautiful game, and I think the life lessons are taught by this game every day, by every sport. I'm sure I've played other sports also, but I can talk with uh, a lot more greater clarity with cricket. That yeah, the sport teaches us everything. During the day of a test match, there are three sessions, 6 hours of play. How you behave, how you are, how you feel, up or down. It's a real journey. So I will just advise the players to enjoy that, and the more you enjoy, the more you learn, the better it is. Because the day when you walk out wearing your India colors, you would be a much more complete individual to know exactly what happens when and how do you handle yourself.
Definitely, I think it is a moment of pride when you walk out walk out onto the stadium with those colors representing your nation. So yeah, that was really great talking to you, ma'am, and you have given me a lot of insight into women's cricket today. And I hope to have another interview with you soon, mostly regarding the World Cup next time for sure. India, Women's World
Sure,
Cup for sure. Yeah. Thank
sure.
you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.